Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. So, we'll continue the story of Ibrahim, alayhi salam. And those of you who were here last time, we talked about the time when Ibrahim was thrown in the fire and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. And I want to mention one more thing before we go to the next story. You notice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said at the end, He said, وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ. So it says, and they wanted to plot against him and cause harm to him, but we made them the worst losers. We made them the worst losers. All right? So here, it seems like they were plotting even after. So even after they saw the miracle, the fact that Ibrahim came out of the fire, safe and sound, they still were plotting. Because it came after. وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا. Now, why do you suppose that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and they were the worst losers? No talking, please. Can you move over there? Thank you. So, why are they the worst losers? Let me mention a small fact here. It is interesting that Ibrahim alayhi salam never made any dua against his people. He never called the wrath or the punishment of Allah upon his people, despite what they did. I mean, they threw him in the fire. Obviously, they wanted to kill him. But Ibrahim alayhi salam was so merciful, and he never made any dua against them. But yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they were the worst losers. So obviously, they were not destroyed like the people of Ad or Thamud or Noah. They were not destroyed. They were spared, and they were, alive and kicking. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that they were the worst losers? What do you think? Any ideas? Iman?
Because like there's a loser, like somebody that loses, but then there's like the worst loser. Somebody that doesn't accept their defeat, and kind of like they saw the miracle of Ibrahim, and they tried their best to make excuses for it. They like banished Ibrahim.
Very good. So yes, someone who, despite the fact that they saw a great miracle, they were still blinded. Yes.
Oh, I was thinking like it's like someone's offering you a delicious cake and then you decline it.
Someone offered you a delicious cake and you decline it. I like where you're going with this because it does hit the target. So we call it a lost opportunity. I mean, here, they did not lose any normal prophet. They lost Ibrahim himself, the best of the prophets, one of the best prophets. Let me give an example. Let's say, for example, Sa'ad has only $10, and Ammar next to him has $1 million. All right? So, or maybe it's even a better example. So Sa'ad, the brother, has $10 and Ammar has $1 million, and both of them lost it. Now, right now, they both have $0. They don't have any money. But which one is the greater loser? Ammar is the greater, so you should not have wished for the $1 million. You are the greater loser. Because we look at the differential, we look at the difference. And this is a lost opportunity. They did not lose any prophet, they lost Ibrahim alayhi salam, who became the imam of all prophets after him. That's a big deal. And instead of Ibrahim being in Iraq, for example, and being the prophet of Iraq, he left them. He went to Bilad al-Sham, like in Palestine and later in Mecca, and he became the prophet over there. He became the pride of these people, instead of being the pride of the people of Iraq. So that is the akhsarin, the worst losers. So the worst loser is the one who's not able to see a good opportunity. And they squander good opportunities. And this is a reminder to all of us. Be alert all your life and watch for good opportunities. This applies to everything in religion, in your daily life, in everything. Be alert, because good opportunities don't come often. Great opportunities come only few times in your lifetime. Only few times. If you're not able to take advantage of those opportunities, it's a great loss to you. Alright, so today we want to talk about an encounter between Ibrahim alayhi salam and one of the mightiest kings. His name is Nimrod in English. In Arabic we call him Numrud or An-Namrud. So this king, we believe that he was in Iraq. Obviously, if you read in history, he was the king of Babylon or Babel. But Babylon is a great area. It's like today's Iraq and maybe part of Iran, part of Syria. It's a great piece of land. So he was the king of that region. And we believe that he did not know of Ibrahim before the incident of the fire. So Ibrahim was not very popular before the incident of the fire. So he got a little popular when he challenged the idols. And he got even more popular when they tried to burn him and they couldn't. So imagine, initially no one knew of you, and then you challenged the idols, and then they brought him into public. Remember last time we talked about the public trial they had for Ibrahim. So obviously now everybody is watching and seeing Ibrahim face a whole population, like the whole country. And he was debating with everyone. And on top of it, when they were defeated, logically, they wanted to use their power. And even that power did not work. So now they were defeated on all scale, on all levels. So obviously he became very popular. Popular enough for the king to take notice. So now he was brought in front of the king. By the way, if you read other sources, non-Islamic sources, you see they talk about Nimrod in different ways, and they mention that Nimrod's minister or wazir in Arabic, was none but the father of Ibrahim. We don't have that in Islamic sources, to the best of my knowledge. And they say that initially Nimrod was a good king, he was a just king, but then the power corrupted him, and then he started being paranoid about babies coming and taking his kingdom. And when he learned, when the father of Ibrahim learned about that, and he had a baby, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Nimrod wanted the baby. But Ibrahim's father played a trick, he got another baby. So again, it's not Islamic, so don't worry about it, it doesn't come from Islamic sources. And he hid Ibrahim alayhi salam to save him from Nimrod. So if you see those stories, you don't have to believe in them. They're not part of the Islamic tradition. Okay, so one of the sources we have, As-Suddi, one of the Muslim scholars, he said, كانت بين إبراهيم ونمرود بعد خروج إبراهيم من النار. Definitely this incident, this debate that happened between Nimrod and Ibrahim happened after the fire. And again, in non-Muslim sources, you see that in some case, when he saw that Ibrahim came out of the fire, Nimrod wanted to appease the God of Ibrahim, and he gave so much offers to the God of Ibrahim, but Ibrahim did not accept, the God of Ibrahim did not accept. Again, we don't have those in our book, so you don't have to believe in that. What we have instead is a really interesting debate between Ibrahim and Nimrod. Okay, so Nimrod himself was, some people claim he was from Sam, from Noah alayhi salam, so he's Semitic, and other people say he's from Ham, or the other son of Nuh. And again, according to the people of the book, one of the sons, Ham, was cursed by God because he did not cover Nuh alayhi salam. Again, in Islam, we don't believe that Nuh got drunk. We don't believe that he got uncovered. And we don't believe that one of the sons wanted to expose the father and the other one wanted to cover him. We don't believe in all of that. In fact, it seems that someone was so possessed of their, genealogy, and they wanted to maybe extol the Semitic people on the expense of other nations. So they made up that story. In Islam, we don't have a favorite son of Nuh alayhi salam. We believe all of them were, righteous sons of Nuh. And then later, we don't know what happened. I mean, obviously, in the descendants, you could have pious people and you have non-pious people. So anyway, it doesn't matter where Nimrod came from. But Nimrod, he is the son of Canaan in Arabic, which is Canaan in English, Canaan. And then you can trace him back all the way to Nuh alayhi salam. All right. So it says in Surah Al-Baqarah, so if you want to refer to it later, it's Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 258. It says, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِي حَاجَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ فِي رَبِّهِ. Have you not seen the one who wanted to debate Ibrahim about his Lord? All right. So that means that this king has a problem with the belief of Ibrahim. He did not believe in the existence of God. So he's the first atheist we know of. And the Quran says it. He wanted to debate with Ibrahim about the existence of God. Now before Nimrod, like for example at the time of Nuh, yes, there were people who did not follow Nuh alayhi salam. But these people still believed in God. Their problem was different. Their problem was that they did not believe that they have to worship one God. So they worshipped other idols. And they thought those idols could lead them and intercede on their behalf to reach God and to have a good relationship with God. But here Nimrod, it seems like he is a pure atheist. He said like, I don't even believe in God. So Ibrahim approached him with that mindset. So this is the first debate we have between a monotheist, a Muslim, and an atheist. And Sa'ad wants to object.
No, I have a question. So
Yes.
is this after the fire or is this before?
So as we just said, I mean at least I believe, and Ibn Kathir also believes that this was after the fire.
Okay, because I've heard so many different sources like say this was prior to and some say after, so.
I mean, it doesn't really make a big difference if this incident happened before or after. The reason I said it is after, Ibn Kathir quotes As-Suddi, he's one of the scholars, and he said it was after the fire. And the reasoning the reasoning he gives is because he said, Ibrahim was not as famous before, so the king would not have noticed Ibrahim alayhi salam.
But you said so, because like it feels somewhat illogical from Nimrod himself. He says, he's trying to appease Allah, but at the same time, he's not he's debating the existence of God.
No, so the appeasing part we said it's not from Muslim sources, so we don't have to believe in it, and I don't believe in it either. I just mentioned it because it's there, so if you heard of it, you know what to think of it.
I know, it's just
Okay.
I was not paying attention, so yeah.
Okay, no problem. You're not the only one who's not paying attention, right? Omar? Can I help you? If you don't like your location, you can always change it. Pick a better location. And if you can't see me, because I'm sorry, today we have a professional photographer. So if you cannot see me, by all means, feel free to change, move around. You can come here. Here we have plenty of space. So don't hide behind Brother Muhammad. Okay? All right. So back to the debate. Let us look at the content of the debate. What was the debate about? So first we see that Nimrod challenged Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the crux, the core, the essence of the argument is that I don't believe in the existence of God. Now also it seems one of the motives for the arrogance of the king is the fact that he had so much dominion, he had so much power. In fact, some scholars say that the word Nimrud comes from tamarrud, which is what? What is tamarrud? Anybody? This is an Arabic word. It means to rebel. They're rebellious. And this is not just Arabic. In fact, if you look in other sources, like if you look in some Jewish sources, it says the same thing, that he not only was rebellious against Allah, against God, but that he basically taught everybody to be rebellious. This is how bad he was. So he earned his name, or his title, whatever it is. Also, they say he was a very good hunter. I don't know, like he had 4 dogs, and he's a very good hunter. Now, some people say he was the first hunter. That's a big problem. Anytime somebody comes and says he's the first of something, or someone is the first, you gotta challenge that. You need to bring proof, and proof here is, really hard to bring. So, again, you have to be critical, especially when you read, stories and legends and myth, because unless it is, at least for Muslims, unless it is in the Quran or it is in the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, you're not, again, I repeat, you're not obliged to believe in it. You're not asked, to act upon it. So this is really important for us. Okay. Now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, one of the reasons he was so arrogant is because أَنْ أَتَاهُ اللَّهُ مُلْكًا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a great kingdom. Now some people talk about the length or the duration of that rule, and they say it was 400 years. Again, it's not in the Quran, so again, it's not something you have to necessarily believe in. So let's go into the argument. The first thing he said, إِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. When Ibrahim said, it is my Lord that causes life and death. So one thing you notice right away, Ibrahim alayhi salam initiating the argument. He's not waiting for the king or Nimrod to start. He was proactive. He was initiating the argument. What does that tell us? What is the lesson you get right away? You should be proactive. If you look at Muslims today, what do you notice right away? The opposite. Reactive. Reactive. We're always reacting. This was not the case of Ibrahim. Also, if you study the seerah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he was always proactive. He was not waiting for others. And based on what they do, you take an action. No, it was the opposite way. It was the other way. You initiate, you start the process. So he said, it is my Lord that causes life and death. How is that a proof of the existence of Allah? Obviously Ibrahim is trying to prove the existence of God. And he said, it is my Lord that causes life and death. What is so special about life and death? Sorry?
Anyone can take a life, but no one can really bring forth life.
So think about bringing life, yes. So basically this is talking about bringing something to existence. Now of course life is one of the most miraculous and interesting forms of existence. So that's why it is mentioned. And this is why understanding the origin of life, or rather to explain the origin of life is almost totally impossible. Even now. They can talk about anything, but the origin, the start of life, no one knows. No one can explain. With all the science we have. And that's exactly what Ibrahim pounded upon. The bringing into existence of something that does not exist. That is the meaning of ihya. And since life is the most complicated form of existence, he's talking about ihya, bringing something to life. Ibn Kathir actually mentioned something similar. He said, الدليل على وجود الله, the proof for the existence of God حدوث هذه الأشياء المشاهدة بعد عدمها. The fact that it comes into existence, right? And we see it, مشاهدة, after it was non-existent. I mean, there are other proofs, like the proof of design, and we talk about very complicated design. And this is something that is debated over the ages. We're not going to go into it in detail, but here he's not even going there. He's going to something even more fundamental. The fact that you see a lot of living things, and the fact that they came out of nothing, right? And we all agree, and that's also what Ibn Kathir says, لأنها لم تحدث نفسها. We all know that it did not make itself. Of course, nowadays we have people who are trying to prove that. Good luck. That somehow it came out of random processes. Like, it just happened that processes, coexisted, and somehow something sprung out of it, and somehow life began. But they still cannot explain how that came about. So this is actually the core of the argument. Of course, the deduction that Ibn Kathir made is said, فَلَا بُدَّ لَهَا مِن مُوجِدٍ أَوْجَدَهَا. If it cannot create itself, if it cannot bring itself into existence, there has to be someone who brought it into existence. This is a little too difficult, isn't it, for some people? Or is it easy? Does it sound too philosophical? I'm not putting anyone on the spot. I realize some of you are young, and this is maybe not a very simple argument or something that you understand right away. But I think if you understand it, this is one of the best arguments of a monotheist against an atheist. And I hope one of you at least, or some of you, will debate some atheist in the future. If Ibrahim is your example, right? So Ibrahim was very interesting because he met many celebrities, kings. He debated, people. He debated people in power, and pretty much his life was like that. So he was not afraid, and that's why he's the Imam of all prophets. Yes.
What were they debating about?
So the debate was about the existence of God. And because you look initially, the king was doubting the existence of God, and he said, it says in the Quran, الَّذِي حَجَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ فِي رَبِّهِ. He was trying to argue with Ibrahim about the existence of his Lord. All right, so now what do you think the king will do? Is he going to submit and say, oh, Ibrahim, you're absolutely right, and I was wrong all along, and I submit to you, and you win the debate? No? No?
He's going to punish him.
He's going to punch him? Not exactly.
Punish him.
Oh, punish him. Put him in jail. Any other? Amar? Yeah.
He's going to say something along the lines of, well, if I execute him, obviously I win the argument.
If I execute him, I will win the argument. Why do you think so? Because he's causing death? Good try. Yes?
I'm 99% sure I have my facts wrong here. But was this the king that tried to build to the sky?
Actually, you're right. And again, it's not mentioned here, but it is mentioned in books of history that he is a king who tried to build the Tower of Babel. That's what you're referring to. And because he heard that God is in the heavens, so he trying to reach God. And obviously, he tried that, and he found after building the tower that he still has a long way to go. So he was disappointed. He got down, and the next day it crumbled, and it caused a great scare in the city, because you can imagine all that, all these bricks, falling or something. But again, this is not Islamic sources, but it is mentioned in history books. Yes?
No, I thought was it him that built out of bricks, or who built a tower out of
There's also, so in the Quran it tells us about the Pharaoh who built a similar tower when he was challenging Musa alayhi salam. So yes, that's what's in the Quran. But for Nimrod, it is mentioned in other sources, like I said, non-Islamic sources. Oh, there's something more interesting. So in that same story, not Islamic again, it says in the next attempt what he did, I think he got something like a big bird and he tied some box to the bird and he flew with it and he had an arrow and a bow and everything. And he was shooting this guy and the angels, in order to calm him down and get him to quit, they sent the arrows back with blood on it to convince him that he was able to.
That was the Jews and Jews.
No, that's different. So again, Yajuj Majuj happens at the end of time.
Yeah, but like the shooting of the arrows and the blood comes down. As well.
Okay, so maybe it is a similar story. Good catch. But that's also mentioned about Nimrod. So no, so what happened, so the response of Nimrod was, you know what he said? He said, and I also can cause life and death. Guess what? What he did? He said, okay, bring me 2 prisoners, and I shall let this one live, and I'm gonna, call for the execution of the other person. So see, I cause life and death. Very weak and dumb, right? Because that's not what Ibrahim was talking about. But, someone who is so, like he's full of himself and his power. So obviously he's not thinking in logical terms. He's thinking of the power he has. Now, of course, what do you think Ibrahim did? If it was a typical person, what would they do? They would start arguing, no, this is not what I meant, and I meant that, that you can really cause life and death. Ibrahim did not do any of that. He was a really good debater. And that is actually the hallmark of a good debater. Don't waste your time. If somebody is taking you down a rat hole, they want to rat hole you, do not go there. Look for a better argument. Because what's going to happen is just going to have a nonsensical argument. Like, if this is not obvious to you that this is a dumb argument, you're not a good debater. So immediately he shifted gears. And he said, okay, fine. I'll give you one round. What about the following? He said, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْتِي بِالشَّمْسِ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ. Allah brings the sun from the east. So the king, yes, he has access to these people and he thinks he has full power over these people, but he has no effect, he has no power whatsoever over the universe. So he said, okay, my Lord brings the sun from the east, go ahead and bring it from the west. Like, this is one of these arguments that, okay, you're just dumbfounded, you don't know what to say, you just stop, you quit. And that's what the Quran says, فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. So this man who disbelieved, he was dumbfounded. Like, he did not know what to say. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the people who are oppressors. Okay. So that is the debate. That is the debate between Ibrahim and the king of Babylon, Nimrod. And maybe I'll mention a couple of things here before we end. There's again another narration that Ibn Kathir mentions, and the reason I want to mention it is because it talks about his wife. So now we're going to see that Ibrahim gets married, and then he leaves town, he leaves the whole region, and he goes and he establishes himself all on his own. So one thing it says here, and it's not against, Jibreel came and asked him, do you want any help? Ibrahim said, from you, no. From Allah, yes. And this word that we keep repeating today, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, God is sufficient for me. We say it because of Ibrahim. Ibrahim was the one to say it first. And he said it when he was thrown in the fire. I mean, that really summarizes the vision of Ibrahim, the the charter of Ibrahim, the way he lived his life. He lived it by this word, that Allah is enough for me. So, and this is why he never felt alone. If you look at Ibrahim, he did not have followers throughout his life, by the way. Ibrahim did not have a single follower except his family. So his wife, his children, and his nephew, and that's it. But not a single follower from outside his family. Can you imagine that? Like if you could say, one of the greatest prophets of God, and not a single follower. I mean, that humbles you, right? I mean, because, you go make da'wah for a couple of days, and then people don't respond to you, and you get so upset and so frustrated. Yes, Abraham?
I was going to say, "Ariyah na rasul."
Okay, so obviously this is Syrian slang. It means much better for his head, like for the peace of his head, I guess, or for his peace. It's more peaceful. You must have had some trouble with the followers you have or something. Or you must have seen people who have followers and have so much trouble, which is true. But subhanAllah, yeah, it's interesting that Ibrahim himself never had any followers. That the dua he made, and we're going to talk about that in some detail later. He made one dua that brought him followers until the day of judgment. Not in his lifetime. Many people, actually many great people, in their lifetime, they're totally unknown, and they have no followers, no recognition whatsoever. But after they die, people, my storage is full here. So people recognize the contributions they've done, all of that. Even in science, I was reading one time, great scientists, one of them is Maxwell, who invented or discovered, electromagnetics and all of that. He was barely recognized during his lifetime. I think another one was Kepler. Also, he was not well known, and he discovered quite a few things in astronomy and so on, and he's not well known at all. He was not recognized in his lifetime, but later he was. Okay. So he left the king's palace without any food. On his way back, he wanted to take some food to his house. So he had a couple of bags, he filled it up with sand, and he took it so he can go to sleep, and his wife would think it's food so she doesn't bother him. So now we know he was married, and his wife was Sarah. So he was married. So it seems like Sarah was also from Iraq, from that region. So anyway, he went to sleep, and it seems like Allah turned it into real food. This is a miracle. So when he woke up, he found that Sarah was cooking. He said, where do you get that food from? And she said, you brought the food. And he didn't say anything. He said, okay, this is a rizq from Allah. This is sustenance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the reason I mention this is because here it mentions that he's already married. Maybe that's a good advice for people to get married when they're young. Not too young though. Yes?
So you said that he brought the sand to say it was food, but did he bring it just so his wife wouldn't bug him?
That's what the story says. But
And then it turned out Allah had a miracle.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure. All right, so the last story I want to mention about Nimrod, and again you might see this in some books, and Ibn Kathir mentioned it as well. And let's see, he mentioned it from one of the tabi'in. Again, his name is Zayd bin Aslam, so it has some credibility, and it talks about how Nimrod was finished, how he died. So Nimrod was always this arrogant, mighty king, and one time it says that an angel came to him to kind of put some sense into him. He was, trying to call him to Allah. So it says, وَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ إِلَى ذَلِكَ الْمَلِكِ الْجَبَّارِ مَلَكًا. So Allah sent an angel to this arrogant king. يَأْمُرُهُ بِالْإِيمَانِ بِاللَّهِ. So he was asking him to believe in God. فَأَبَى عَلَيْهِ. And the Nimrod refused. He refused. And again he called him a second time, and he refused. A third time, and he refused. And then there was this show off, or this basically showdown, I should say. He said, "Ijma' jumu'ak wa ajma'u jumu'i." Like, you go gather your soldiers, your army, I will go gather my army. So this is what? Between the king and the angel. So Nimrod went and he gathered his army, and this was at the sunrise. And the angel, now again, if you read it in other books, non-Islamic books, you see that it was Ibrahim who brought this. But here it says an angel, so we'll take it as it is. So what happened, the angel brought with him an army of gnats, or like mosquitoes. You know, gnats are the small mosquitoes. Not locusts, no. It was mosquitoes. It was a large swarm of mosquitoes. Like, you could not see the sun anymore, because remember it was sunrise, so you could no longer see the sun. So that's how big it was. And it was like brought to attack the army of Nimrod. And it did. And it destroyed the whole army. And there is also a story that says that one of these gnats went into the nose of Nimrod, and it kept, bugging him, making noises and stuff. He could not sleep, and it was like 40 days, and then he died. Again, it's a story there, and Ibn Kathir mentioned it. He doesn't talk about whether it is authentic or not. I don't know if he can even authenticate such stories. Again, you take it as is, face value. It's not, again, it's not in the Quran, it's not in the Hadith even. It is one of the stories, most likely we got it from the people of the book, because the Prophet ﷺ did not forbid us from narrating from the people of the book. He said in one hadith, وَحَدِّثُوا عَنْ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَلَا حَرَجْ. You can narrate from the children of Israel, and there's no harm in that. I mean, it's up to you. You could look it up and validate it, but it's not haram to do that. So this was the end of Nimrod, and now Ibrahim alayhi salam is ready to leave his people and go, start a new life, as we say. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions, we'll take them. Otherwise, we'll go to the quiz. Yes?
You said the angel Nimrod. Did he go in his angel form or in the one of human?
Well, it didn't say. It says, وَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ إِلَى ذَلِكَ الْمَلِكِ الْجَبَّارِ مَلَكًا. It says he sent him an angel. Now, I remember reading in other sources that it looked like a human being, but does it matter? I'm just wondering. You think it's?
Well, yeah, because it was an angel. First of all, I know Jibreel alayhi salam is like, I started.
You can say alayhi salam.
It's bigger than it's the greatest angel.
He was blocking the horizon, yes.
Like the angel is first of all expected to be really big.
Yeah.
About, like even if you're an atheist, if you see an angel, you should probably believe.
If you see him, yes.
Yeah, but yeah.
But remember, again, sometimes, the problem is we think sometimes people don't believe only because they're not convinced. This is only one reason. Okay? And the biggest proof is that these people saw Ibrahim alayhi salam thrown in the fire, coming out, alive and well, unharmed by the fire. Did they believe? No, not a single one. Imagine, not a single one. So that tells us that the logical arguments and the convincing is only one part of it. Sometimes many other interests play a role. Like, I don't want to lose my position, for example. That was the main reason why the Quraysh did not follow Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Yes?
My question is that, you said something about Nimrod's dad, something like that. What was his name?
Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
That's going to be on the quiz.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Okay, well, wait. Maybe someone will tell us, someone who is paying attention will tell us the name of Nimrod's father. Okay, any other questions? Yes. Okay, but that's not, yeah, you will, inshallah, but give me a minute. Yes.
His father was Canaan.
This is part of the quiz, so now everybody knows.
I actually didn't hear. Was it?
But good, yes it was. So it will not be on the quiz. Any other questions? And don't give away any more answers, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3, okay. Then it's over, we're done. Inshallah, if you want to participate in the quiz, stick around and we'll go ahead and do it. Cut.